everyone to the November 2025 meeting of the Maritime Advisory Board. My name is Terry Lomax, and I am the chair. And is my usual custom, I'm just going to go around my screen and introduce everyone that at least shows up on my screen. We'll start with Alderman, soon to be retired, Ross Arnett. We have Mike Tomasini, the vice chair. We have Peter Trogdon, member. We have Tom Weaver, member. We have Frida Wildy, member. We have Duncan Hood, member. We have Rick Nelson, member. And amazingly, they all are in the line without no interruptions. We have Beth Bellis, our harbor master. We have Hope Stewart from from Economic Development. We have Josh from the city of, I never get COATV, City of Annapolis TV. Kimberly Consoli, our recorder, and Debbie Goslin, who is a regular and important and valuable guest. So with that, we will get through our rather abbreviated agenda, starting with the approval of the minutes from the October meeting. Is there any updates or any changes, proposed changes to the minutes? And if not, is there a motion to adopt the minutes? Mr. Hood has moved to adopt the October minutes.
Second.
Mr. Tomasini has seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. I will abstain because I was not at the meeting. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, just me as an abstention, Kimberly. MIAB report. Was there an October meeting, Mike? Not sure there was. There was not.
Hey, Terry, there hasn't been much action on the website for the MIAB. So I texted Ginny Miniger before the meeting just to try and get a feel for what's going on. And she sent back that they have a new liaison from the county whose name is Shelley Garrett. And then she's going to reach out to Shelley and make sure that she has your email so that she can update you. They proposed the 2026 meeting agenda last night's meeting. So they should have a scheduled event, a scheduled calendar for 2026. But it doesn't sound like they've had much support from the county for much of 2025, which might explain why there haven't been many meetings to report on.
I think they only are required to have 4 meetings a year,
yeah.
And they seem to run them like 3 in a row and then take
Yeah,
off.
they did. I think they did January, February, March, and then there hasn't been anything. And then apparently they did meet last night. So
Right.
that's their fourth, and then they're gonna.
Last night was moved up because of Thanksgiving.
So I provided your email address to Shelley from the county, and you should expect to see the calendar for next year.
Okay, we will hopefully get that, and we'll see if they stay on track. Hope, economic development update.
Yes, so as you all may know, we officially launched our Marine Trades Apprenticeship Program with the Marine Trades Association in October. We had a photo opportunity at the boat show. Frida was there. And we recently met Emily Decker, Alderman Schandelmeyer, and I met with the superintendent of Anne Arundel County Public Schools to discuss the program. They're really excited to get involved in some way. And also Adam Straught, our new economic development manager. Last week, he met with Blackwood Associates, which is a new business in the Maritime District. And they're a cybersecurity firm, and they do provide services to the maritime industry. So that's the quick update on our end.
Very good. Well, it's going to be interested to hear what the collaboration with the Anne Arundel Public Schools is. It works out. Hopefully that works out and we get a pipeline. Duncan?
Yeah.
Hey, Hope. I was talking to Chuck O'Malley the other day about this very topic. Can you give me a contact for him about apprenticeships?
Yeah, how about I forward you the press release, which has all the
that'd be
information and
perfect.
Emily's information, and that'll have the context as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda is the Harbor Master's report. Beth, did you send one out? Frankly, I was in an arbitration all day today, and I didn't get a chance to look, and I'm looking as we speak. Were you able to
Did
send out?
everyone get the link, or do I need to send it again?
Gonna tell you in a minute if I got it.
Beth, you may have to send another one. I don't see it.
I,
I mean, if you could just go on shared with me, if you go into Google Drive and go on shared with me, it's always there for you.
well,
I can,
that would require a level of expertise.
okay, so I'm
Some
just
of
gonna
us may
copy
not
the
have-
link then, and I'm just gonna send it out again. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, if you would just send it basically to the members at whatever the email address is, you can almost just hit reply when I send out the agenda, you just can hit reply all and then delete the non-members if you want. And that makes it real easy. And then we know everybody gets it
All right, I'm gonna do
that
that
way. 'Cause
right
again,
now. Just give me 1
I don't
second.
see it.
Copy link. Hopefully that did the job. Let me know if
So
it
I'll keep an
didn't.
eye out.
So I
I'll
guess
keep
I
an eye
should
out.
go over the highlights.
That would be good.
So with regards to the Marine Vessels Task Force, having read the 50-page report, which is summarized well on Addendum C, it's very clear that the city needs to modify or create new legislation that speaks to vessels used as short-term rentals. Like, that's the crux of the matter as the task force sees it. I don't disagree with that. I did meet with Assistant City Attorney Ashley Leonard and Deputy City Manager Jacqueline Guild today, and we have a plan moving forward to figure out how to tighten up Title 15 to make it such that we are doing what the constituents want in a way that is enforceable, if that makes sense. Any
So
questions on that?
While you're on that topic, and Ross has his hand up, I ran into Frank Biba on Saturday, and he has been in touch with Frank Thorpe about the revisions and amendments to Title 15. So there probably should be some coordination. Obviously, has to be coordination with your office, but probably some coordination once Frank takes office in December. And Ross, maybe you can enlighten us even a little bit more.
Yeah, so there's two different topics here. One is the amendments to Title 15, which I did work with Frank on and Kevin Scott. And I ended up not supporting the changes because they basically eliminate the concept of harbor line, and they basically say riparian rights go out a quarter of the way out on each side, leaving 50% of the middle. And that might not necessarily be where the channel is. So when I raised that with Frank and Kevin when he was still with us, they said, yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But the other reason that I did not support Title 15 is because they tried to clarify lateral lines by having three different ways you could do lateral lines. And I said, what do you do if you have one property owner choosing option A and the one beside them choosing option B and the one on the other side choosing option 3 or C? And it did not make sense. And then huge sections of Title 15 were cut out by Kevin because it was too much of an administrative burden. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, we don't do legislation because it's too much of an administrative burden. So that is, in my view, dead. If Frank wants to pick it up again, God bless, but I would urge him not to. As far as the non non-commercial rentals and so forth, I worked very hard to get that task force going, and it came up with two wonderful recommendations. but the primary purpose was to stop houseboat legislation. So why are we continuing it? Let's let somebody else come up and reinitiate the houseboat legislation, not act as though we're continuing to do houseboats.
Well,
You
isn't,
know, or
isn't, I mean,
three of
everything,
them.
all bills died, sine die, so that has to be reintroduced by somebody, if it's going to be
Doesn't have to
reintroduced.
be.
I
Why
said, if it's
wasn't
going to
it
be,
reintroduced at all?
right.
So I think the city's position, given Mayor-elect goals for the first 100 days, and after speaking with Deputy City Manager Gild, I think the city's position is going to be no.
Yeah.
So I'm in concurrence with you, Ross. I think we just have to rewrite it in a way that's enforceable, in a way that it makes sense, and it doesn't at the moment. And so we've actually done quite a bit of study, and we found some nice verbiage in Ocean City's new legislation. It doesn't match. It doesn't match, but it's very helpful. So
Yeah.
that's what we're starting with. And we are going to have like a meeting every week right now in order to try to push something forward to make this make sense. But I'd love to talk with you out offline if there's something more that I missed. I am a little surprised and disappointed. I didn't know anything that Mr. Biba has pushed out. I've never spoken with him since he's been in this role, so I would love to know how I can collaborate with him or understand what it is his new role is going to be. That's news.
I didn't get the sense that he had a new role as much as he had a discussion with Frank about there was changes that were proposed maybe what, 2, 3 years ago, Ross, maybe
Yeah.
more.
More.
Um, that just to revisit it, there wasn't, I didn't sense any agenda one way or the other than the topic of revisiting it came up. But I think between Ross and you, Beth, and this board, there's enough historical perspective that I don't see Frank rushing off. Hopefully rushing off, just on the basis of one or two recommendations or input from one or two people.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I just think it's been a lack of connection between the two of us, and we can fix
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And
And
so
it's
the
just on
other
the horizon. That this was nothing that was of any, I mean, we were at Fred Delavan's memorial service, so this was not the topic of the purpose of the meeting.
Sure, of course.
Beth,
No,
I
no
still
problem.
haven't gotten that updated report. Am I on the email?
You should be. I mean, I think
No.
everyone got the
So
report.
the
Was it
other
Guy
issue
put it
with
out?
short-term rentals is that Jared has said that he wants to do a 1-year moratorium since there are no legal short-term rentals that I know of on the water. It would seem like the reason for a moratorium is to sort out all of the short-term rental, which clearly we'll have to think about short-term rentals that want to be on the water, like the one at Eastport Yachting Center and the one at Butler Marina. But um, gosh, I would hate to think that we're rushing right into regenerating that whole issue of house barges and houseboats and short-term rentals on the water. Um,
But it'll remain to be seen what happens with now Safe Harbor Eastport Yachting Center and whether they have any interest in
Say
that
sport, say
in
sport.
the first place.
Yeah.
They may not have any interest in that on their property, and that may lessen some of the pressure too.
Yeah, it may. I think they're more interested in having big condominiums.
That's a different issue. All right, Beth, I'm sorry, we digressed on that first topic. What else updates are there?
No, it's quite all right. There are very few major updates on the city dock project. I only am just telling the group that currently and for the foreseeable future, the slips are not accessible. The bulkhead is without power, and the only dock space that has power is on the Donner lot. we are exploring the idea of getting temporary power to the bulkhead for the busy season. We don't have answers on that, but we're trying our best.
Um, Backing up a minute, well, first of all, I take it there was a groundbreaking. I haven't been down to see whether or not the 6 scoops of dirt that got shoved onto the sidewalk have actually resulted in a hole in the ground. But I'm assuming that it will move forward once it stops raining.
No, work has already started.
It has, and it appears to me as a layperson, I'm not an engineer, it appears to me that we've done a ton of work with archaeologists, making sure that there's nothing major that will be disturbing with this work. And now it appears to me that we're doing like electrical and water work. And I would say that Whiting Turner has been a fantastic neighbor in keeping us in the loop. And we're sort of enjoying sharing a building with them because we're able to exchange information. But in terms of like the nitty gritty, like we don't know because we're not engineers. And so we don't know exactly when phase 2 is starting and such and so on.
So Beth, they're actually in the harbor master's office?
We're in 4 Dock Street.
Gotcha.
And I didn't realize Whiting Turner, that they're using that as their construction trailer, so to speak.
Yeah, they're on the 3rd floor. We're on the 1st floor. And so we're sharing information regularly, which is nice.
Okay, well, good. That's helpful because it's a project that you should be up to date on. How about the other issue on the old business before we get to the short new business is Tyler had updated us on the fact that there's a reconfiguration moving forward for the Acton of the St. Mary's Cove and relocating some of those moorings farther up Spa Creek along where the cable crossing is.
Yes. So we have secured a grant, and if anyone in the group doesn't know, the moorings in St. Mary's, if you've looked over the Spa Creek Bridge, they're largely not used because they're designed for boats that were smaller in a different time and life. So we're going to move those and spread those out so that they can accommodate 55-foot boats. And we're working on that design now. It should be fully grant funded, I think. And so I think that's going to be good. I think we will get a little bit of pushback from some of the riparian owners because they don't want a mooring near their home. But what I would say to those folks that are objecting is that anchored boats cause far more difficulty with the dragging anchors and the violations than moored boats. So I hope that we'll get everyone's support, but we'll see.
Well, it is unlikely you get everyone's support, but the logic of moorings and not having boats anchor across the cables and drag and risk damaging the cable crossing and risk being blown up on somebody's dock is far outweighed by the efficiency of having well-placed moorings.
We would agree.
So, Beth.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. If I don't know if we're done with that topic, but just I had a couple questions on the annual moorings.
Sure, shoot.
Yep. Well, just first in terms of how the pricing is set for that in both short term, I know that you submitted something. I mean, the first thing, if you see 59 people on a wait list for Spa Creek, would suggest that more should be charged for the moorings because they're clearly in demand and people may see them as alternatives to, to having a slip. So, how that is set. And then the second aspect in terms of Bayland Engineering is applied for approved mooring sites. If you could elaborate a little bit more about those sites. So 2 questions.
I'd have to get back to you regarding the slips the sites themselves. I have to dig back into that. But as it relates to the fee and the waiting list, what I would say is I'm on the fence and I'm welcome to feedback. Because here's the problem. I increased the fee last year. And if I'm an annual mooring person and I'm feeling like I went up, I don't remember what percent, and it's going to go up another percent, I'm a little concerned about that pushback, but I'm open to, and it's really hard to study. Like when I go and look, I don't have a lot of other cities. I don't know that I have a single place that's really apples to apples in terms of studying the amount that should be charged.
There,
So I'm on the fence about increasing the fee, but I'm certainly open to feedback about that.
I mean, I have traveled by water as often as many of us have in um, New England in particular, and there is no lack of expensive mooring fees throughout New England. And maybe we're not at the rate of New England, but certainly they are far outpricing Annapolis. And I share with you, I don't know. I'm not particularly attuned to whether there are other paid moorings. First of all, let's just start with annual moorings. Paid annual moorings elsewhere in the state. There probably are some on the Eastern Shore, and there may be some down in Solomons. And so to me, there's a bit of a difference between the rate of the annual moorings, which are, I won't say they're residents, but they are local, as opposed to the rates for transient moorings, which seem to be below not only the commercial marina rates and likely to be even more below them when some of the new marina owners start fiddling with their rates. But also they're lower than, they're remarkably lower than a lot of other jurisdictions for the transient rates, and that's a whole different category of people who I think frankly are probably more susceptible to demand pricing and willing to pay demand pricing, so to speak, than the annual moorings, where I see, yes, they are, residents who are feel like they're being, overcharged or consistently being upcharged on an annual basis. So I think maybe we need to separate out transient mooring and dockage fees from annual mooring and dockage fees, but that's just my own thought.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. I've already submitted a request for a fee increase for transients. So right now, most of our moorings are $35 per stay. I've asked for it to be $40 per stay. That's a almost 15% increase, and based on inflation, I mean, we could go higher, but I hate for people that come all the time to have such sticker shock. So my inclination was to go $5 more this coming fiscal year. And in regards to annual moorings, my problem with comparing it to New England is, like, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they have the same amount of docking opportunities. So in Annapolis, I can come dock up for $10 an hour. And that's a really nice thing. But then I can stay on a mooring. Like, I'm just a little stuck on the annual, but like I said, I'm open to feedback. But for the transients, I've landed on a $5 increase. Again, I'm open to input on that.
Yeah, I just
Rick?
from the transient standpoint, how much of capacity is used? Are they typically 80% booked, 90% booked? What percentages do we run?
I can certainly drill down on that. My hunch is that weekends we're 80% full, holiday weekends or weekends when the dock's full, we're 100% full. And sometimes we turn over those moorings 2 or 3 times a day. And our transient moorings are making more revenue than our docks.
Yeah.
But we have 76 of them, and they're very popular.
Yeah. So I mean, this is not to be settled here, but I think worth more discussion. I mean, it's basically what's the market and supply and demand. And so If you're getting close to 100%, then that suggests that more can be charged, and whether it varies in terms of the weekend or holidays or almost Uber surge pricing type of thinking. And similarly, if you have a wait list of 57 people, that just shows that something's quite popular and probably also amenable to charging more. And so I would just say that we'd want to know, as Terry suggested, what other areas are charging, and then also just what the kind of the utilization is here. And again, offhand observation, if you have such a long waiting list, tells me it must be a pretty good deal then.
Scott, you
Yeah.
were, Duncan, I'll come back to you in a minute, but Scott, you had raised the issue was on the agenda for tonight because Scott had asked the question, and I had given Tyler before, Beth, I realized you were back. When I ran into Tyler at the groundbreaking, I gave him a heads up, which I hope he passed on to you, that it was going to be a topic. And it was not going to be a topic that we needed to resolve tonight, but just to get it on the table for discussion. But Duncan, go ahead, and then I want to just see if Scott has anything to add to that.
Well, just sort of vamping on Rick's point, the late great Arthur Burney once told me, if you're working too hard, you're probably not charging enough.
And I feel like it's such a delicate balance with government. So I've heard other dock managers say, if your docks are full, then you're not charging enough. And I don't know if I want to go all the way there because we're a city, we're providing a service. But I certainly understand the law of supply and demand. And I'm certainly open to increasing fees. I just don't want to get too crazy with it.
Well, I think you've already, hit on the transient and settled on a number, and I don't take issue with the $5 increase. It's yes, on a percentage basis, it's what, 1/7 is 14% or 15% increase, but on a hard dollar basis, it's a pretty modest increase to spend 24 hours on a mooring.
Yeah.
For an additional $5. That's probably not even one beer at some of the local downtown bars.
You can park your boat at the Hillman Garage.
And it's a really hard year to do it because our moorings are going to be full all the time because we don't have any dock space with power or water. So it's a hard year because if I have a 24-foot boat and I just want to go to dinner, now I'm paying $40 for a mooring where I would have paid $10 for dock space. So
Well,
it's kind of a hard year to do it, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to try to do it anyway. But I think that people are going to be like, do I really want to go to dinner in Annapolis? And we don't want to curtail that.
I think you'll find my 22-foot Mako that I'm not spending the night on, I might not pay $40 for a mooring for just to go to dinner, but you start getting it at a 28-foot boat, somebody's spending a night. So it becomes and frankly,
Sure.
we want to somewhat encourage that because I just assume not encounter somebody who's been out to dinner and drinking, then trying to go back to Baltimore at 9 o'clock at night when I'm trying to come back from the Eastern Shore.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. So I think that we'll just keep that on the agenda and revisit it. The budget will have to go in the spring, so it's part of the fee schedule. It's part of the budget, so it'll come back up again. Next item on it is for those of you that don't remember, we have when there is a turnover on the council, and sometimes when there's a turnover of department heads, we have offered the opportunity for council members or department heads or a combination to take a tour by water. Watermark, Debbie was always gracious enough to make available one of Watermark's boats, and we would do a Spa Creek, Back Creek sort of narrated tour for new council members. I'm inclined to make that same offer since we have a number of new council members, some of whom or a number of whom may not have ever been on the water or certainly not had things pointed out on the water that that might be important to know as a council member, as opposed to somebody who was just recreational boating. I'm open for thoughts as to if that sounds like a good idea. It would not be until the weather obviously is much nicer in the spring, or maybe even early summer. And we'd have to figure out the logistics, and we don't have to make a decision tonight, but I just want to put that out there since we have done that in the past. There's a couple of things that go into that. One is if we have 5 or more council members, it becomes a public meeting, which means we have to advertise it in the Capitol, et cetera, et cetera. So there is always if there's too much of a response, it might have to be in 2 trips. Not that I don't welcome, members of the public. It's just a logistics problem. If we get too many people, in terms of a vessel. Duncan?
Yeah, there are two good points to do it, and I completely approve of it. First of all, it shows the new council members are waterfront. That's a big deal. But second of all, it also tells them that there is a Maritime Advisory Board. So I think we got 2 positive things for doing that.
All right, I think we'll just let the council get sworn in, and then we'll look ahead at some dates, and we'll look ahead at some logistics at the beginning of the year, and keep that one on the agenda also.
Hey, Terry.
Yes.
Both Scott and Ross have had their electronic hands politely raised.
I looked up. We'll start with Scott, and then I'll come back to Ross.
Thank you, Terry. Just listening in on Beth's report of the moorings, and we've talked about the mooring fees being a great deal in Annapolis, a little bit off the record behind the scenes, and I know Rick Nelson and I've talked about it, and you and I have talked about it. And I think it's what Beth is doing is excellent, looking at that, but I don't think it should be on her shoulders to have to decide. And I think maybe having a study group would be worthwhile, which Beth should be part of it. But because there's input from the city side and there's input from business people on the board here. And Terry, I sent you today, and I don't know if Rick, I sent you, but I have a study that a friend of mine did, and we know the transient fees and maybe the long-term fees, but it's on a little spreadsheet of most of the ports, including Newport, up and down the coast, and some around the country. And I think it would be good to study that from a market standpoint for the business people on the board, or at least a study group, and come back with Beth's input and that input. And I believe the rates have to be set by the city council, Ross. Is that the way I read the?
Yes.
That we can say what we want, and Beth can do things, but I think the city council has to approve the rates somehow, and I don't know how that goes.
They do. Yeah, I just put in a fee revision request with my budget, and then the city council will look at it and decide if they think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think that's great what you're doing on that. And I think also that the information we've got from a market standpoint is excellent to use as well, and maybe have a little study committee over the winter to look at it, because maybe even with the increase we have, we're still too good of a deal, relatively speaking.
I would welcome. I would welcome a study and any more data. I would welcome that.
Yeah, so I think it's a collaboration of people on this committee, that we don't have to have the whole committee deciding everything every time, but having some people look at it. And I have this study in a spreadsheet which I can share, depending on how we want to set it up, and that's up to Terry. And Terry, I think I sent you that spreadsheet.
I actually just, as I said, I hadn't been on my email much today, but yes, I did get it. And Scott, if you send it, it looks like just send it to me. I'm happy to share it with.
Yeah, I didn't know where to start, so I sent it to you.
And Beth, so I'll forward that out tomorrow.
But if you want to set up a little study group, feel free to. But I think Beth's, good start for that, but it shouldn't be all on her shoulders alone.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep. So
Ross.
I know Rick's got opinions on it too. So
yep, I'd be happy to help.
Yep.
Ross?
Yeah, so first of all, Scott, I want to thank you. We have some city staff, harbor masters, one, planning and zoning, another that get caught in the middle and royally beaten up. So anything we can do to help ease that burden, I think, is a good idea, as long as the study groups understand that it is still going to have to go through a staff and a city council process.
Eventually, yeah.
But I think it's always a good idea to get input. I was, as I've said several times so far, shocked at how good the task force performed, how well they performed on a very broad, amorphous task, and one with an incredibly short timeline. And I think they did an incredible job with a lot of help from the harbor master staff in particular, and from Jackie and Giles and people. I wanted to go back to Beth, the in your report, which I never did get by email, but you suggested I could go through whatever that triangle thing is, and there it is. The report is on the 6th Street. There is some backplay there because remember, Alan Hyatt was threatening legal action against the port wardens for approving that. I haven't heard anything happening from that, although I did withdraw the Harbor Line proposal to change the harbor line because of the recommendations from the harbor master's office. But I'm assuming that we're on schedule for the 6th Street dock going in place. I see we've got bids.
We are, yeah, we are, and there is still a pending case in circuit court that is an appeal to the port warden's approval, as I understand it. However, there is not a stay, if that's the appropriate legal language,
Right.
or a stop work order or whatever I should say. So we are permitted to begin work, and the bids are out, and we are expecting the work will start in January. I'm excited about it. There's just not enough places in Eastport. I would echo Ross's concern about that. So I'm excited about the work. I hope that, Safe Harbor Safe Harbor will become an amenable neighbor. I hope that things will go well. I don't expect them not to, but I don't know where the circuit court stuff is sitting.
So Safe Harbor does have an alternative here at the old Mears Marina, which is they can put a board, a dock coming out from the shoreline at 6th Street on the lateral line and have access to those slips from inside the marina. It's going to cost them some additional money, but they've been living on the city's riparian rights significantly, transgressing our riparian rights. So I think they have alternatives. Alan didn't like that when I pointed that out to him, but they do in fact have alternatives to not lose those spaces. I did talk to Tyler about another street in Park, which is on Burnside on Spa Creek. That whole bulkhead is really deteriorating. There's lots of spikes that are sticking out, and people have had their inflatables gouged by things. So I don't know where that is in the scheme of things, but it is something that it would seem like we could at least have a contract to go pound nails back in so they're not sticking out, and maybe lay some planks over top of the end of the bulkhead or something to make it a much safer place for people to get on and off. It's a very convenient place for people to come and dock when they want to walk down to the bridge and go downtown. But
Yeah, I'll add that to my radar to be honest, it's been a little bit of a catch up coming back. But
Yeah.
I'll add that to my radar and we'll certainly check on that and see if there's something, at least a stopgap that we can do there. I will definitely check on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that because a lot of people use it that have bugged me about it. So that would be good if that could get on somebody's radar. Thank
I'm
you.
on it.
Excellent.
All right, anything else on those topics? If not, the last item is both meeting date in December and meeting location in December. As we usually do, we take a break from the virtual and we go real. Probably the 16th, the 16th of December would look like the appropriate date. It is well enough in advance of the Christmas holiday week that we wouldn't need to change the meeting date. It's the third of 5 Tuesdays that month. So the question then becomes, any thoughts on where we might want or someone is willing to host? We've had in the past Duncan, but I'm not sure that Duncan has quite the sway over the current owners than
Duncan's just a guy now.
yeah, he's just another guy, in the hood. But yes, we are looking for a location. Rick, I think you did it last year.
That's correct.
Um,
I'd be happy to offer it again this year and will. The only thing is I actually have to be in Denver at another board meeting that evening. So you'd get a double benefit. You'd get used to the sailing school and my absence.
Or
How about,
the alternative is we move it up a week. I mean, there's no issue about moving it a week earlier if that's more convenient for you too.
I believe it is, but I would defer to other members in their schedules as well. But
Anybody have any thoughts on the 9th versus the 16th?
I'm game for either, Terry. And I'll put this out there. If it doesn't work for the 9th and Rick, the pirate ship can host on the 16th in the indoor space.
That would be the place to do it.
You know,
There won't be any pirates there though.
I will say, and part of me says actually that might be good because then everybody gets an opportunity to see your operation, which a lot of us I've seen parts of, and but why don't the two of you talk and decide if you really want to make that available? It's not taking on a whole lot, but if you want to make it available for the night keep it on the 16th, that's fine. Or actually maybe talk to the rest of your partners in the pirate business because they may have a different thought. But otherwise, once you and Rick coordinate and just let me know which day and when in the next few days, and we'll make it happen.
yeah, well,
How about the rest of the board? I mean, where does
that's what I
fall
would. Yeah,
on
the
whether it's the
maximum number of
16th or the
people.
9th?
Yeah, exactly.
On my side, I'd prefer the 16th because I have another meeting on the 9th. So there you go.
Okay.
Beaver?
16th works for me.
Both dates are good for me.
Scott?
Both days good for me.
Both are good for me as long as they don't have to dress up as a pirate.
Now I might force you. Yeah, so whichever is fine. I can if Duncan is not available, but then Rick isn't available on the
Yeah.
16th.
So yeah.
That's
So
Rick's
one
more
act doesn't
important
or
than
the other.
Duncan.
Sounds like we keep the meeting on the 16th at the Pirate House.
Yep.
Sounds
I
good.
think that's probably the most practical.
Okay. We have a plan.
Sounds good.
Any other business that we need to take up from the floor? I don't hear any.
Just
Scott, Tom?
yeah, quickly. Yeah, one of our fishing guides went missing on Friday, and there's still an ongoing search and rescue operation for him. It's
Oh,
it's a recovery operation now. But he went out of Chesapeake Beach. It's unlikely to come up this far, but as of today, there were still 5 boats using the towfish sonar equipment. So if you see any fireboat, police boat, or DNR boat, give them they tow these sonars a long way behind the boat. So you have to give them a really wide berth. So just be aware of that. It's unlikely to come up past Thomas Point, but they'll be searching up to Deal at the moment, and
so
unlikely to come up here.
was it was the person on the boat by himself?
Yeah, he went out on Thursday night scouting on it was windy. He had a trip Friday morning. He ran out just quickly out of Chesapeake Beach to look, and I actually found his boat the next morning. We got his track off of it, so we know pretty good idea where he fell off. He wasn't wearing a life jacket,
Mhm.
and we were on scene looking in that area by 9 a.m. the next morning, but we think he went over about sort of 4:15 the night before.
Wow.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, very sorry. Although, and this
That's
may be
sad.
beyond the MAB's, purview, but encouraging people to wear, life preservers, particularly if they are alone on the boat. I mean, it just it kind of defies logic of experienced sailors, especially given the PFDs you can wear now that don't encumber at all. They just kind of explode once you go into the water. So,
I mean,
that,
I'm the sort of spokesman for the 72 Light Tackle Guides and the Light Tackle Guides Association. I personally wear a PFD all through the winter. And it's sort of in the past 2 or 3 years. Previously, I never did. And certainly, I mean, I'm talking on a day-to-day basis, not
yes,
not not when I'm on my own. When I'm on my own, I always have worn a PFD. The fishing community is much slower at adopting it than the sailing community. That falling off is pretty hard. And his boat, I found his boat at Tillman Island. His engine was in neutral. His stereo was the next day, it's still running. Stereo was on. He'd had half a beer and he had a fish in his live box and gone out for like less than an hour. And so we assumed that he fell off and the wind was blowing and you just can't, with gear on, boots,
yeah,
foul weather, you can't keep up.
yes.
The other part of it that we're now reinforcing to everybody is that you need your phone. His phone was on the boat. I found that we were looking down the shoreline and somebody pinged his phone and we found the boat because his phone was still in the boat in the charger. So the downside is even if you go over the side on your own with a life jacket in this time of year, without a phone, you're not going to be able to call for help or
Mhm.
VHF, handheld VHF radio too. So we're just trying to reinforce that amongst our group, and we're putting together some sort of video, promotion. We're still working on that.
Wasn't there another fatality out of Chesapeake Beach the last few days?
That's the one.
Oh, but there's
Yep.
one out of Tillman as well.
No, no. That was
Confusing
confusing.
boats.
I was at Tillman when we made the call. So
I see.
the initial distress, the initial missing person call went from Tillman. We found him at Taylor's. We found the boat at Taylor's Island. So there was a
Okay.
lot of the call one of the guides found his truck and trailer at the ramp in the morning and he called me and said, "Is LJ next to you?" And I'm like, "I haven't seen him." So nobody'd seen his boat, and we were south of Tillman when we made the call that he was missing.
I see. Gosh, I'm sorry. It's very
That's the same. It's all the same person.
It
Sure.
was on,
Well,
Tom, it was on the
Tom,
news tonight too, just
Oh.
before this, on WMAR, WMEL, but it was on the news when I walked into this meeting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen that, but it's been a massive effort.
Yeah.
so Tom, yeah, if you do come out with something, a video, it's something that I could certainly use at the sailing school and play for our students as they come through.
I over the years, I've taken Chris Edmondson, former director president of Boat US Foundation, and his main thing was safety. And he equipped my boat entirely. He donated me Mustang life vests and stuff. Whenever he came on my boat, we always wore gear. We have two kill switches on the boat, because if I'm wearing my kill switch and disappear off the back, there's now no kill switch left on the boat to come and get me. All these little things that he instilled in me over the years is something that we're trying to communicate through a video.
Very good.
It is very good. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Duncan moved. Mike, actually, Peter had his hand up quicker than Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor for adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Josh.